Welcome to Dynamic Point, your exclusive source for SharePoint applications built for the Microsoft Dynamics ERP and CRM solutions. Today I'll go ahead and demonstrate for you our expense management product built exclusively for Dynamics GP and NAV. Let's go ahead and get started. I've gone ahead and opened up our SharePoint homepage where our expense management application is deployed. In your case, you'd go ahead and drop in our expense management web part anywhere within your corporate intranet, allowing employees easy access to create and review expense reports. Today I'm logged in as Tim Ball. Tim Ball here has several different expense reports under varying statuses, but let's go ahead and create a new expense report for Tim. The first thing that will pop up is the expense report header that's just requesting additional information that allows the reviewer to quickly ascertain what these expenses are relational to. I had a recent sales trip to Texas. Additionally, you can create an expense report on behalf of someone else. This would be most beneficial maybe for an assistant creating an expense report for an executive. The report date will default to today's date, and then you have to go ahead and set a begin and an end date to this particular report. The report purpose is just a little bit more background information associated to the report, sales meetings with XYZ company, and you'll notate that the reimbursement total is zeroed out because we have not associated any particular expense items to the report as of yet. Let's go ahead and create the report. You'll see the header information up top, but we now have the option to go ahead and add additional expense items and mileage items to this report. Before we do that, I'm going to go ahead and show you how we can actually do attachments at the header level. This can be beneficial for the person that scans all their receipts into one document. So they have the option, several options to attach those receipts. First, I want to highlight the Select from Library option. This is actually a SharePoint email-enabled library that would allow an employee to quickly snap a photo of a receipt with their mobile device, forward it to receipts@mycompany.com, and then as they log in to create their expense report, all of those receipts will be stored here within the library for them to access and associate to the report. You also have the option, the upload option, standard, browse to your desktop on your computer, attach a receipt directly. But again, this is to facilitate a receipt at the header level of the report. Let's go ahead and create some expense items. You'll see that we default to the begin date of the expense report, and then you have a drop down to select the expense type. This is very easy for the user because they can quickly ascertain it was airfare, hotels, meal, but on the back end we've actually correlated the applicable GL codes within Dynamics to these expense types so it can be coded accurately upon integration to Dynamics. Our payee in this instance was American Airlines, flight from LAX to Houston, and we had a flat fee of $300. I'm going to go ahead and do another attachment so you can see that we can have an attachment at an individual line item level as well. Let's go ahead and grab one and associate it to this line item. We'll save that and we'll see our first expense item. Let's add a few more just so we can see the different distributions and dynamics as we integrate and approve this expense report. Well, let's skip home office since I said it was a trip to Houston. So we'll say Marriott, hotel for 2 nights, and our total here was $200. We'll save that one. And let's just do one more expense item here. We had a meal while we were out there, I hope. Ruth Chris, a nice steak dinner with XYZ company. That was probably a little bit more expensive, and we'll associate this to the expense report. Now we have the ability to also include mileage. The mileage items here are going to be configured behind the scenes as well, so an administrator can set a mileage rate with effective dates. We're going to say it was travel back and forth from home to LAX to get on that plane, 30 miles, then equates to $15 based on that behind the scenes calculation. So I think we have enough expense items. Let's go ahead and save the report. At this point, Tim Ball can come back in, edit the report as needed, maybe attach additional expense items that he forgot about, or maybe forgot to bring in some of those receipts, so he can go ahead and edit the expense report at any time and make additional additions. And at this point, we'll note that the status is not submitted and there are no status details. As we go ahead and submit the report, we'll see that these things begin to update. Status changes to under review, and status details notates that we've started the workflow. We additionally have some new tabs for notes and audit, and as we go through the review and approval process, I'll dive into those a bit more. So at this point, we've kicked off the review process. Tim Ball shows clearly that his report is under review, but now somebody else has some behind the scenes work to do. I'm now logged in as Sean Porter. He's actually going to do the review and approval of Tim Ball's expense report. So for demonstration purposes, we've got a pretty simplistic workflow. Sean is Tim's supervisor, so he's going to do the first review and approval, and then it will trigger a finance team review and approval. Sean is also associated to the finance team, so we don't have to log in and out here. But Sean, there will be a couple ways in which he's notified that he has a task assigned to him that he needs to go ahead and take a peek at Tim's expense report. First, if he was obviously inside the SharePoint expense management application, he would see that he has some new tasks assigned to him. But obviously, probably the more prominent one is he would receive an email inside his inbox that he has a new expense task assigned to him. He can navigate directly to the expense report or the expense site home. As he does so, I'm going to go ahead and click into tasks. We'll see those tasks yet again. And we're going to go ahead and we'll see the entire header with all the information, the attached receipts at the header level, and then the various expense items that we added. He can take a peek at those individual expense items, review the attachments that are associated to them. But it looks pretty straightforward, and for demonstration purposes, it wouldn't be too fun if we had rejected it, so I'll go ahead and approve, notate approval. And now you'll see that Sean Porter has a secondary task. Under the finance team, he has the expense report to review ultimately. If we go to notes, you'll see that Sean Porter's prior note of approved. We'll see the audit trail, the date and time stamps, the submission, the under review, the first review process being completed. So we're going to say approved again, and we'll go ahead and submit that for final approval. At this point, upon approval, we're going to go ahead and trigger the payable directly into Dynamics GP. But before we get there, let's take a peek and see what Tim Ball experiences on his end. He's going to receive an email in his inbox that his expense report has been approved, but also we're going to take a peek at his expense reports. His sales trip to Texas has been approved and is complete for the $815. Let's navigate to GP and see exactly what it looks like inside Dynamics. We'll navigate to purchasing and the transaction entry. We're going to go to the very last payable, and we'll see that this is Tim Ball's sales trip to Texas. Tim Ball is associated to the vendor card as the employee vendor card. That's how we can tag him. You'll notate the different distributions associating the various GL codes dependent on the expense types that we had associated.